What's going on, my sensational sinners? Welcome to Sin Nation. I hope you guys have been staying out of trouble. Well, as for me, you know what they say. What's life without a little sin? You guys, please do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and become a sensational sinner. And today we are discussing the biggest sinner of them all. And guess what? Y'all know him all too well. We're going to be discussing Christopher Watts. Now, we just passed, the 8-year anniversary has just passed for the Watts unalivings of him, annihilating his whole family. So it's been 8 years. So rest in peace to Shanann, Bella Cece, and baby Nico. And today I feel like, we're going to be doing like a little celebration of Chris Watts being where he needs to be. If it was up to me, he wouldn't be where he is. He'll be 6 feet under. But hey, that he's where he needs to be nonetheless. And so I'm going to do a prison update. So this video comes from Insane Body Cam, and we're going to be doing a reaction to it. And it's going to pretty much update us of what's going on with Christopher, okay? So the title of this video is, I think it's about him being in prison. It's like a April 2026 update. And so before we get into that, y'all, when we react on this channel, we drink wine, or I drink wine. You can drink your water, your Coke, your Sprite, your tequila, your vodka. Let's just sit back, relax, watch this clown. And let's get the update on Christopher and what he been doing. And the name of this video is Inside Chris Watts Prison Life, June 2026. Actually, and it says actually worse than death. Okay, so let's see if it's actually worse than death.
Okay, I just want to get out of here. I only did, I know that God has a plan for me. It's not, to be in prison right now, but it's not 8 years.
There is a man sitting in a prison cell in Wisconsin right now. He wakes up at the same time.
And look at Christopher. This is crazy just to see him. I don't know. This is a 2026 update. I don't know if this footage of him, he looks different. His hairline is receding even more. Okay, so kudos to that. And here he go. He's holding his lip like he did in the interrogation video when he brought the ring, holding that lip. So that must be a little coping mechanism or something that he does a lot. But he's talking about God has a plan for him. Oh, he do.
Every morning, he eats the same food. He walks the same 40 feet of hallway. He sees the same walls. And above his bed, there are photographs. Photographs of a woman and 2 little girls. He put them there himself. Most people who follow this case think they know everything about Chris Watts, the murders, the affair, the interrogation.
Look at him. This is crazy just to see him in here. What he doing? Washing his hand? He looks like, oh Lord, y'all can't see him. Let me show y'all Chris. Got a good look. He look like he's washing his hands or something. Let me rewind it for y'all.
Who follow this case think they know everything about Chris Watts, the murders, the affair, the interrogation, the plea deal, the sentence. But what has been happening inside that prison over the last 7.5 years, the part the cameras stopped showing, is something that even people who have followed this case from the very beginning do not fully know. I spent weeks going through court filings, Wisconsin Department of Corrections statements, letters Chris Watts actually wrote, interviews with his former cellmate, and verified reports from People Magazine, The Daily Mail, and News Nation. What I found is this: Chris Watts has broken down. He has fallen apart. He has spent 7 years in what sources connected to his incarceration describe as quiet, unrelenting torment. And what is happening to him inside those walls is something most people on the outside never get to see. A source who has been in
If I don't see Chris crying, I don't believe it, okay? Chris is a monster. I don't believe he feels bad. I don't believe he's crying. I'm sorry. I don't believe it.
With Watts since his incarceration told People Magazine that he lives a bleak life, that he is constantly haunted by his past, that the weight of what he did follows him from...
And then for them to allow him to have his victims' photos in his prison cell, I think that's kind of pathetic, and I think that the prison should have did something about that.
Morning count to lights out with no relief and no end in sight. And by the end of this video,
Okay, so they're showing him over here. So I'm going to be moving myself quite a bit because I want to make sure y'all get to see the loser, okay? And now he's just sitting there. So for me, I don't think Chris is in general population because he's the only prisoner there, and they have the guards. Those look like workers. So, I guess.
Understand exactly what that looks like, what it sounds like, and why many people who loved Shanann, Bella, and Celeste say what Chris Watts is enduring inside those walls is the only justice that makes sense. This is June 2026. This is Verified. And this is the story the cameras stopped telling. November 19th, 2018, Weld County Courthouse, Colorado. Judge Marcelo Kopkow had presided over thousands of cases in nearly 17 years on the bench. He had seen the worst of what human beings do to each other. And when he stood before Chris Watts that morning, he chose his words carefully.
Words that come to mind when I hear the evidence in this case are a senseless crime and
Absolutely.
the viciousness. I could objectively say that this is perhaps the most inhumane and vicious crime that I have handled out of the thousands of cases that I have seen.
That says a lot. That man said that is the most humane case that he's ever handled. And like they said, even the police officers and things that had worked on that case, they had to retire. It was just, I don't know, PTSD or something.
And nothing less than a maximum sentence would be appropriate.
5 consecutive life sentences, plus 48 years for unlawfully terminating Shanann's pregnancy, plus 36 years for tampering with the bodies. Chris Watts will die in prison. That part is not in question. But here is what most people watching this right now don't fully understand. The sentence itself, the number, the years, the legal finality, was not the real punishment. The real punishment began the moment he walked through the doors of Dodge Correctional Institution and understood for the first time exactly what he had traded his family's lives for. 14 days after sentencing, the December 3rd, 2018, the Colorado Department of Corrections transferred him out of state, not to protect Chris Watts, to protect themselves. Inmates inside Colorado facilities were already planning attacks. Death threats were flooding corrections offices. Keeping him in Colorado meant riot risk, murder.
Now listen, I don't know who decision that was. They said they were protecting themselves. Who cares? Okay? Let Chris go to prison in Colorado like he should have been. Okay? Because listen, go ahead and do the domino effect. All right?
And catastrophic legal liability. On December 5th, 2018, he arrived at Dodge Correctional Institution in Walpen, Wisconsin. Dodge is a maximum security facility that has housed some of Wisconsin's most dangerous inmates for decades. It holds roughly 1,000 men, murderers, rapists, lifers, men who have spent years learning how to survive inside a...
And he's still alive? Okay, I'm confused by that. They got the worst criminals there and they still let him live? That's just to show how, just looking at him, how he go from a nice family man. He had it all, the nice house, the good job, the beautiful kids, the beautiful wife. And now he's in prison with freaking murderers because that's who he is now. Crazy how a person's life can just turn around with one bad decision.
Like this, and every one of them knows what Chris Watts did. That is where his real sentence began. Here is something that surprises almost everyone who learns it. Chris Watts is not in protective custody. He is in general population.
What?
The Wisconsin Department of Corrections confirmed this in a 2024 statement to People magazine. Chris Watts is housed in general population with access to recreation, work assignments, and religious services.
Wow.
He is not isolated in a solo cell for his safety. He is walking the same hallways, eating in the same cafeteria, and working alongside inmates who know he strangled his pregnant wife and stuffed his daughter's bodies through 8-inch openings into crude oil tanks. In prison, there is a hierarchy. At the very, gang leaders, respected lifers, men with power and a reputation that keeps them safe. At the very bottom, people who hurt children. And below even them, men who killed their own children. Chris Watts has lived at the absolute floor of that hierarchy for over 7 years. Former inmate Eddie Neese spoke to the New York Post about what that position actually means. He said, when you're in prison with a lot of guys who did really bad things, but you're still considered the worst person there, you're just evil. If the guards weren't always around, everyone would take a swing at him. A source connected to Watt.
Let me just tell you something. The people that this man is in jail with, they probably got life sentences. So it's like, come on, why is Chris still here? Okay? Like, just be done with it. Because it's not making sense to me. You with the worst of the worst, and he's at the bottom. Like, he's in the bar that said for him is in hell. Come on now. I do, for them to say that, I didn't know he was in general population. I believe that the day will come.
Told People magazine that he lives in a state of constant fear, that he keeps to himself, that he does not start conversations he doesn't need to have, that he survives by becoming as...
I know damn well he say he don't have conversations that he don't need to have. He wasn't supposed to have a conversation with Nicole Kessinger, but that didn't stop him. He got some nerve. Don't smarten up now. Have all those conversations that you want like you did when you was in the free world, Chris.
Possible, invisible. Let's walk through what a day actually looks like. This is verified through Wisconsin DOC public records, court filings, and corrections official statements. 5:30 a.m. morning count. Chris Watts wakes up in his cell, general population housing, either shared or dormitory style. Guards verify every inmate. The same as the morning before, the same as tomorrow. Then he sees them above his bunk. Photographs, Shanann smiling, Bella and Celeste hugging, the faces of the family he destroyed before he has taken a single step into another identical day. The Wisconsin Department of Corrections confirmed this in 2019 after a public petition demanded the photos be removed. The DOC's response, inmates are legally permitted to possess family photographs. There is no legal basis to remove them. And so for over 2,700 mornings, Chris Watts has opened his eyes and seen their faces before anything else. A source told People magazine in 2019 he has nothing to do but think. He thinks about what he did every day. He is...
Look how beautiful that is. I mean, the house was freaking immaculate, nice house. And just seeing Bella and Cece, they really thought Chris was their safe place. It's so unfortunate what happened to those girls and what he did. Just, how can you do that to your own kids?
Tormented by his past and the mistakes he made. 7 years later, in June 2026, that torment has not ended. It has become the texture of every single day. Work. Chris Watts works as a prison custodian, cleaning floors, maintaining common areas, confirmed by the Wisconsin DOC. He earns between 25 and 75 cents per hour, roughly $80 per month. A man who once owned a 5-bedroom home in Frederick, Colorado, and held a professional position at an oil and gas company, now mops the same floor.
Exactly. And then I think that his income goes to... I think he has like lawsuits, or that goes to like Shanann's parents, because they did do I think like a wrongful death suit against him. So I believe whatever he makes goes to Shanann's parents, if I'm not mistaken.
In the same building for the same fraction of a dollar, week after week. Recreation allowed once or twice per day, Monday through Friday. He has outbound phone access to an approved contact list. Every call is monitored and recorded. He cannot say a single word to anyone outside those walls without it being heard. Bible study. He attends regularly. It is one of the few constants in a life stripped of almost everything. And it is inside those letters, those monitored calls, those hours in his cell, that the clearest picture of what 7.5 years has done to Chris Watts begins to emerge. Research on long-term maximum security incarceration documents a consistent pattern: chronic stress, hypervigilance, and the steady
I've never seen these video clips, of Chris with the kids. This is just so crazy to me, how he literally just seemed like he was such a good dad. And to be honest, listening to Shanann's dad, a little bit of his, how he talks about Chris, he thought he was such a good father. Everybody did.
Of identity when every choice, every freedom, and every marker of who you were is removed. For Chris Watts, those effects are compounded by something no study can fully...
Now, I don't know why he grabbing her hair like that. Now he look like he grabbing her head too dang on hard. Now it look like he pulling her hair. See, it be them little signs that you miss. It be them little ones. He look like he about to pull all her scalp off. It's crazy. It's amazing what one woman can do to a man and change his mind about his whole family, his whole life.
For the specific, inescapable knowledge of what he did and the total impossibility of ever getting distance from it. He cannot log off. He cannot move away. He cannot start over. He is in the same facility, surrounded by the same men who know his name, under a sentence with no endpoint. A source in contact with Watts confirmed to People magazine that he is tormented, that there is no peace in that cell. And what has emerged from his letters, the letters he writes from inside Dodge, shows a man grasping for anything that provides a sense of meaning. Because prison has stripped away everything else. He writes to women. He attends Bible study. He holds on to scripture with the grip of someone who has nothing else to hold. In letters published by the Daily Mail in January 2026, written to a woman named Deborah who first contacted him in 2022, Chris Watts wrote, "God had a plan for me. He wants me in prison. This is his will, just like it was his will for Jesus to die for us." Some people read that and hear arrogance.
I know damn well Chris not trying to make himself godlike, like he was the sacrifice of mankind. Like, he got to be out his mind. Don't you compare yourself to God. And I know he's not saying that. This is crazy to me. That man has a mental problem. You mean to tell me that God wanted you to hurt your kids and unalive them, not hurt them, unalive your kids and your whole family because you are the sacrifice for everybody? Come on now. That don't make sense. Like,
but forensic psychologists who study long-term incarceration point to something else, a mind trying desperately to construct meaning out of a reality it cannot survive without one.
Yeah.
When a person faces a lifetime with no exit, when the people they were...
And you know what? That's exactly like him, because even with the affair with Nicole Kessinger, look at what his parents would say. You know, Shanann was awful. Shanann was this. That doesn't, even after he unalived his whole family, his family's making an excuse about how Shanann was. It doesn't matter. We don't need any reasoning. It was no reason for that man to unalive his whole family. And that just to show that's exactly how Chris thinks. How his wife was. Shanann was this. She was that. It's no excuse and no reasoning for you to do what you did. Now he's doing the same thing in prison. Oh, I did it because I'm where I need to be and this is what God wants. It's like, no, you made your own decision. And when you in church, you should learn that a human has the right of choice. You choose. You know, God doesn't possess you. As humans, we choose. You take the knowledge, you know right from wrong, and you chose to do wrong.
To have disappeared one by one, the mind reaches for any framework that makes the unbearable bearable. That is what 7 years has done to Chris Watts. He is not at peace. He is clinging, and the harder he clings, the clearer it becomes that the life sentence is doing exactly what it was designed to do.
Yeah.
In August 2025, News Nation reported on letters in which Chris Watts wrote, "I am a new man. I am not the person who committed those horrible acts." Read that not as a boast. Read it as a man who desperately needs to believe the person who did those things no longer exists. Because the alternative, fully inhabiting the identity of someone who planned his family's murders for weeks, who secretly gave his pregnant wife OxyContin in an attempt to end her pregnancy, who tried to smother his daughters in their beds before driving them to an oil field, is something no mind can carry unprotected for decades at a time. In June 2021, Inside Edition reported confessions Chris Watts had made to a pen pal. Confessions he never gave to investigators. He admitted the murders were planned for several weeks. He admitted he secretly gave Shanann OxyContin because he believed ending the...
Now, I knew, you know, about him giving Shanann drugs, but see, I never really knew how long he planned that stuff for. I don't know. I think I was kind of like between weeks and months, because I do believe that that's accurate. But man, I believe probably the first week he probably was introduced to Nicole Kessinger, he probably started thinking about their demise. But to be honest, the way he did the unalivings and the plan that he had and the way he did stuff, it kind of comes off as he was still unsure, and it didn't come planned at all. Because to me, if you planning an unaliving of your family for weeks, it was done very sloppy. So, I don't know. Part of that is still out for debate for me.
Would make it easier to leave her and be with Nicole Kessinger. He admitted that on the night of August 12th, 2018, he tried to smother Bella and Celeste in their beds while they slept. He failed. They woke up. According to Watts' own confession to investigators, Bella had already seen what happened. She watched him drag her mother's body down the stairs wrapped in a sheet. She was crying. She asked him, "What's wrong with Mommy?" He told her Mommy was sick. He then loaded both girls into the back seat of his truck alongside
Meanwhile, he was the sick one.
mother's body and drove 40 minutes to the oil site where he worked. His daughters dozed in and out, lying in each other's laps. At the oil site, both girls asked him, "What are you doing to Mommy?" He didn't answer. Investigators later confirmed Bella's final words to her father, spoken just before he killed her, were 3 words. "Daddy, no."
Stop.
A woman who visited Watts in prison and later spoke with ABC News described the moment he talked about the murders. She said his eyes would go dark, that he spoke about it with a detachment that she found deeply unsettling, as though he were describing something that had happened to someone else. 7 years later, those memories exist in the same cell as him. They are there when he wakes up and sees those photographs. They are there when he mops the floor. They are there when the lights go out. There is no distance from it. That is not speculation. That is what long-term incarceration in a maximum security facility does. And for Chris Watts, the weight of those specific memories is something that no Bible verse and no pen pal letter will ever fully cover.
And this is the stud, guys. This is the stud that has unalived his whole family, and he has women writing him, saying how handsome he is, how he's just such a stud, honey. This is the guy. And it's like, it doesn't give no type of stud nowhere before or after the weight loss, okay?
2022, People magazine cited a source who said Chris Watts had been corresponding with multiple women throughout his incarceration. Some send letters, some send money to his commissary account. His former fellow inmate Dylan Tallman spoke to the Daily Mail in 2024. Tallman said he will talk to a girl and she becomes his everything really fast. He becomes obsessed with a woman and she becomes all he can think of.
See? And I believe that because that's exactly what the heck that loser did with Nicole Kessinger. He talked to Nicole Kessinger. Listen, that's why they say do not be with an insecure man, because they're not used to getting attention. And once they get that attention, they're willing to sacrifice everything because they're not used to getting it, okay? I believe that. Now he's doing the same thing in prison, coming obsessed with those women.
Psychologists who study long-term incarceration are clear on why this happens. Human beings require social connection to function, and when every normal avenue of connection is closed, no family nearby, no friends, no relationship, no private conversation, a person will hold on to whatever remains. For Chris Watts, what remains is letters, monitored phone calls, women who write back. Psychologists call the phenomenon that draws some people to convicted killers hybristophilia, an attraction to people who have committed serious crimes. Some believe they can save these men. Others are drawn to the notoriety. Some are simply seeking connection themselves. In his letters to Deborah, written in October 2025, Chris Watts wrote, "I believe that in a different time I would have been able to be with you, but God has other plans for my life." Whether you read that as...
And Shanann just has so much footage of them. I mean, at this point, they might as well should have just put cameras in the house. Because just like a regular day, he got on the same pajamas. So she just walks around and record, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, like, even in the same clothes, I think she was just so amazing at it. And to me, whenever you grab the camera, you know, some people don't want to be recorded like that. But for her, she probably enjoyed, you know, Chris with the kids. And when you get the camera off, that's a happy moment. You want to share it. She's probably in awe. She's like, man, I did such a good job. I picked a great father for my kids. And those are happy moments that I feel like that's what it was for her. And that's why she always took the camera out, because she was in such awe. But you guys, we are almost halfway done with this video. So if you guys are still here, you guys are my people, okay? Please do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and become a sensational sinner. And you guys let me know what you guys feel about the case 8 years later.
Or as genuine. Either way, the picture it draws is the same. A 41-year-old man in a Wisconsin maximum security prison, earning pennies an hour, spending what little he earns on stamps, writing to a woman he will never meet, telling her they cannot be together because God said so. That is not the life he believed he was building on August 13th, 2018. That is what is left of it. Beyond the isolation, beyond the monotony, beyond the letters and the photographs and the memories, there is something else Chris Watts lives with every hour of every day: physical danger. In the prison hierarchy, men who kill their own children occupy the very lowest position. Not because other inmates are morally upstanding people, but because in a world where most men have someone who matters to them, a child, a niece, a nephew, a daughter, the act of killing your own kids is something the prison population agrees in its own way is unforgivable. Eddie Nees, speaking to the New York Post, was direct. If the guards weren't always around, everyone would take a swing at him. Chris Watts knows this. A source connected to him told People magazine he is aware of exactly where he stands inside that facility. He has been aware of it every day for over 7 years. Every mealtime, he is calculating. Every hallway, he is measuring. Every new inmate who arrives, he is watching. One wrong moment, one guard who looks away, one transfer that doesn't go according to protocol, that awareness never switches off. It is not a thought he can choose to stop having. It is built into the reality of where he is. Imagine
And I don't feel bad for him. That's what he should have, because for him to unalive those kids that trusted him, I want him to live in fear for the rest of his life.
That for 7 years. Then imagine carrying it for 35 more. There is a recorded phone call from inside Dodge Correctional Institution that most people have never heard. Chris Watts, speaking with a private investigator and a woman named Anna, who appears in his verified prison visitation records as one of his approved visitors. In this call, you hear something that no secondhand account fully conveys. You hear his voice. He talks about the law, about whether his confession could be legally challenged, about whether the polygraph was administered correctly, about whether there is any ground left he hasn't tried.
No.
And then at the end of it, he says, I just want to get out of here.
I just want to get out of here. I only did. I know that God has a plan for me. It's not to be in prison right now, but not stay here.
Not with anger, not with the energy of someone who believes they have a real chance. With the hollow, exhausted sound of a man who has said it to himself 1,000 times and is finally saying it out loud. I just want to get out of here. He won't.
Listen, Christopher is used to playing that role like he did with Shanann of the good husband, you know, being a good little boy to get him by the day to day until he found that little hot body Nicole Kessinger that he thought he deserved so bad. And he thought he deserved her because that's why he unalived his family for her. But if Christopher thinks that if he walks around the jail with his head down, and if he stays out of trouble, and if he goes to church, that he's going to get out of prison, he has a rude awakening. But I believe that that's really what he's doing. He's trying to walk around like that, humbling himself. He's forgiving because he think eventually he will be out of prison and people will feel sorry for him. But no one will.
5 life sentences, plus 84 additional years. No parole, no commutation, no realistic legal path to freedom. The Colorado death penalty, abolished in 2020, was never a factor after his plea deal. There is no door. There is no clock running out. There is only the facility, the same walls, the same routine. Shanann's father, Frank Razuchek, said it clearly. I don't want him to die. I want him to spend his life in prison thinking about what he did every single day.
Okay.
That phone call is what thinking about it every single day actually sounds like. Not rage, not defiance, exhaustion. 7 years in, with no end coming. In the weeks after his arrest, his parents, Ronnie and Cindy, stood by him. They visited, they sent money. In December 2018, Cindy Watts gave an interview to ABC's 20...
Where is Cindy now? Where is she now? I just would love to see what's going on with Cindy at this point. She's a piece of trash, just like her son. It's like the stuff that she says is just... And I did a video of this interview that they're showing right now, you guys. So go check out that video, right?
20, suggesting Shanann's personality had contributed to the murders. A statement that caused national outrage and devastated the Razuchek family. But here is what has happened since. According to multiple reports, the relationship between Chris Watts and his parents has significantly deteriorated. Public support from his family has all but disappeared. His sister, Jamie Williams, has been completely silent for years. No statements, no public presence in his life. Shanann's family wants no contact with him. Frank Razuchek has been clear about that. And according to Dylan Tallman, Chris Watts speaks about feeling abandoned, about how unfair his situation.
Awesome. Now he sees what he did to his kids and how he abandoned them and unalived them. So, okay, awesome. Okay, so I hope that's true. So they said the sister, because he had a jail call with the sister too, and they were so excited. I mean, it was crazy how excited they was and talking about life. So the sister has pretty much cut him off, and he doesn't even talk to his family. Good. I think they're coming to their senses now with what he did.
Sit with that for a moment. The parents who defended him, distant. The sister, gone silent. The friends, non-existent. The wife, the daughters, the unborn son, dead by his own deliberate choices. He is surrounded by roughly 1,000 men in that facility, and he is completely alone. That isolation, that specific aloneness is not something the sentence created. It is something Chris Watts created.
Absolutely.
And what 7 years inside Dodge Correctional Institution has done is give him no choice but to live inside it every day with no way out and nothing to fill it, except monitored phone calls and letters from women who don't fully know what they are writing to. Dr. Lena Dolan, the licensed psychotherapist who wrote My Daddy is a Hero, How Chris Watts Went from Family Man to Family Killer, concluded after extensive research that Chris Watts is a covert narcissist, someone who required constant external validation to function. In his previous life, that validation came from all directions, his family, his...
And then that's true. This is my first time. I know, for me, I believe that Chris is absolutely a narcissist, but a covert one. I like how they put that, where he requires constant validation. And what's crazy is Shanann gave him that validation that he needed all the time. If you go through her social media, she talks about him, and I mean, she speaks so highly of him. He's the best thing that ever happened. Even on the last video I did when she posted him for Father's Day, she spoke him up. So that should have fed his narcissism right there, because I know if she did that on social media, I'm sure she did that at home. Even the last letter she wrote to him, you would think Chris was her God. You hear me? It's just crazy to me that's what he fed off of. She gave him that.
The performance of being the good husband, the good father, the reliable employee. Prison has reduced that to almost nothing. Letters, a chaplain, an occasional approved phone call. Strip even those away, and what remains is a man alone with what he did, in a cell in Wisconsin with no one coming. Every morning before Chris Watts takes a step into another day that is identical to the one before it, he looks at the images above his bunk. Shanann smiling, Bella and Celeste hugging. The Wisconsin Department of Corrections confirmed in 2019, after a petition circulated demanding their removal, that there is no legal basis to take them down. Family photographs are permitted property, so they stay. Some people believe those photographs represent the most severe dimension of his punishment, that before the cafeteria, before the mop, before the monitored call, he is required every single morning.
And I don't think that makes sense to me. For me, I feel like they're not his family, okay? His mom, the people, I mean, I get his kid's DNA does run through his blood, whoop-dee-dee-doo. But I just feel like when you unalived him, you opted out of being a father. You opted out of being a husband. So I don't consider them to be his family anymore. And it's just crazy that they're still allowing those pictures. That's sick to me.
To look at the faces of the people he planned and chose to destroy. His 4-year-old daughter, his 3-year-old daughter, the woman who was 15 weeks pregnant with his son, Bella, who saw him drag her mother's body down the stairs and asked what was wrong with mommy. That question does not go away. It has not gone away in over 2,700 mornings. And based on everything verified about his sentence, it will not go away for roughly 12,000 more mornings to come. Those photographs are not going anywhere, and neither is he.
I like the photos that they're adding in here too. That is the sheet that he wrapped Shanann in. Like, he got good photos too. That's crazy.
Between the life captured in those images, the smiling family in Frederick, Colorado, and the cell in Wisconsin where he looks at them every morning is a distance that no letter, no scripture, no legal strategy, and no amount of time will ever close. That distance is his sentence. This is the question at the center of this case, and it is the question the title of this video is asking directly. Is life in prison, specifically Chris Watts' life in prison, actually worse than execution? Chris Watts is 41 years old, born May 16th, 1985. Based on average American male life expectancy, he has approximately 35 more years inside Dodge Correctional Institution.
That's crazy. I would have thought the male life expectancy would have been 60 something, but they're expecting him to live until he's in his 70s, sound like it. But for me, I'm not going to lie. I always thought, from my personal opinion, when I got into the Chris Watts case, I felt like he deserved the death penalty. But now listening to his day-to-day and how his family is not there and being his crutch and his support system, I'm starting to feel like, you know what, maybe Shanann dad was right and he does deserve this because death would be too easy.
35 more years of 5:30 a.m. counts. 35 more years mopping floors for 50 cents an hour. 35 more years as the man at the very bottom of a prison hierarchy. 35 more years with no private moment, no free choice, no path out. 35 more years waking up to those photographs. When he dies, whether from illness, from old age, or from something that happens in that general population facility, he will very likely be buried in a prison cemetery. No ceremony, no announcement, no one pausing to mark it. Many people who supported the death penalty in this case believe that keeping Chris Watts alive was mercy. That execution would have been real justice. But here is what the death penalty would have given him that life in prison does not: an end. A defined moment when the morning stops coming, a last breath, and then nothing. No more photographs, no more 40-foot hallway, no more floor to mop. Chris Watts does not get an end. He gets 35 more years of the same morning, the same walls, the same men who would take a swing at him if the guards weren't there, the same monitored calls to women who will eventually stop writing back, the same photographs waiting above his bunk, and the world will not stop watching. The Netflix documentary released in 2020 ensured this case never fades. New generations discover it constantly. Young people who weren't following the news in 2018 now know every detail. The body cam footage, the neighborhood interview, the polygraph, the oil tanks. His infamy is not diminishing. It is being inherited. He will never outrun it. He will never be forgotten. And he will never be enough.
I did videos on that as well. His body cam footage, him failing the polygraph test, when they searched the house. Please check those videos out, y'all. I covered all of that. And I know it's probably still so much to cover, like Nicole Kessinger's interview and things like that.
Shanann's father, Frank Razuchek, said he doesn't want Chris Watts to die. He wants him to live with it every day for the rest of his life. In June 2026, nearly 2,878 days after the murders, that is exactly what is happening. Shanann Watts was 34 years old. Bella Watts was 4. Celeste Watts was 3. Nico Watts never took a breath. They did not get 35 more years. They did not get another morning. Shanann did not get to hold the son she was carrying. Bella did not get to start school. Celeste did not get to grow into the little girl those home videos were already showing her becoming. And in a maximum security prison in Wisconsin, the man who took all of that from them wakes up every morning to their photographs. He mops floors for 50 cents an hour. He writes letters to women he will never meet. He holds a Bible in a cell he will never leave. He moves carefully through hallways full of men who would hurt him without hesitation if given the chance. He makes phone calls that are recorded, monitored, and will never result in freedom. He falls asleep.
I love the picture that he is painting. I love it. And I don't know if this is AI or not. It could be from the way he pronouncing the Russek's name. But man, I'm starting to feel like, you know what? I'm starting to second guess the death penalty. Chris is where he needs to be. This man done painted a picture so good, I done changed my mind now. I'm happy he got prison now. I mean, wow, the way he's painting this. This sounds like a miserable life, the way he's painting this picture.
Tomorrow, he will wake up and do it again. For 35 more years. Shanann's father said he wants Chris Watts to spend every day of his life thinking about what he did. In June 2026, nearly 2,878 days after the murders, he is still in that cell, still waking up to those faces, still thinking about it. That is the sentence inside the sentence. And it has barely begun. If this case means something to you, if Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico means something to you, leave a comment. Tell me whether you believe life in prison is actually a harsher sentence than execution. Whether what he is living through is justice, or whether you think the death penalty would have served these victims better. This community takes these questions seriously, and I read every comment. If this is the kind of verified, deeply researched true crime content you want more of, subscribe. We cover these cases the way they deserve to be covered, with fact.
Okay, so I think that's it, y'all. Let's see.
With respect for the.
Okay, so now they go into videos with Shanann. I'm not sure if that music is able to play it. Let's see a little of it. That's wild. I'll sit here. I'll probably start crying, getting emotional. So we're gonna be done with that. But y'all, okay. Please do not forget, y'all, to like this video, subscribe to the channel, become a sensational sinner, and you guys let me know how you feel about the video. Do you believe that prison is better than the death penalty for Chris Watts, or have this video changed you guys' mind where you feel like at first the death penalty did seem reasonable, but now you feel like prison is the best place for him? Y'all let me know down below in the comments. If you guys want to see me cover any other content, you guys can leave that down below in the comments, or you can go into the description where my contact information is and give me some, content that you guys would like to see me cover. Now, until next time, you guys, stay out of trouble, stay safe, and don't forget, pour me some wine because I'm watching true crime. Bye, y'all.